and welcome to this live stream right here in July. So hi. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Robin Daniels. I am the Chief Marketing Officer for Matterport.
So Matterport,
Yeah.
you're doing like 3D scanning, 3D cameras, virtual tours. Is it a bit like Street View? But what does it do, Matterport?
No, not quite. This is quite different. This is all about, so you use a device, either a camera that you buy, a special camera, or you use the phone in your pocket or an iPad, and you can then take pictures of your places in your room, and we turn it into 3D, and it becomes a fully immersive walkthrough of that 3D space. You can use it as a gallery, a museum tour. You can use it for, if you want to rent out your place on Airbnb or VRBO, you can use it to sell your home if you want to do that. So most of the realtors in the world, they know that if they put a 3D tour of a home, an apartment or house or something, they get 20% more faster selling of that home. And they also can sell the home or the place for up to 9% higher cost, because people want to have this immersive experience. Pictures nowadays feel a little dated. You want to have a lot more immersive tour experience of the space itself. And we're the leading company in the world to do that, with literally billions of square feet of square meters captured all around the world in order to do this. And as you see, as you're showing on screen, billions of square feet. Because we've been in business for just less than a decade now. We started in 2011 is when the company was founded, and then we released our first camera a few years later. And then just last month, we released Matterport for iPhone, which you can see here. But this is our high-end camera. This is our Matterport Pro 2 is what you're seeing right there. So if you want the highest quality, you're going to sell a home for very high price. Or if you have something for commercial use, industrial use, for an apartment building, an office building, a gallery, you probably want to do something like that camera there. Incredible just detail and so on. And here's an example of something that's super cool. I'm glad you found this one. Yeah. So this here, as you can see, so what we do is somebody was in this space and they took the different photos. You can move through it as if you were there. You can even go outside if you want to. But you can get a full view of this little cool thing. I think it's a little.
This is
something.
I was just looking at getting like a pop-up tent but this is like the ultimate pop-up tent on the beach, right? Caravan on the beach.
Kidding me? I mean, who wouldn't want to be there right now? Look at that. You can go outside. Yeah, go click there. So you can see, there you go. So you can go outside, right? So all the white dots you see on the image there, just really explain what that is. That is where somebody stood with the camera and took the photos. So you can click anywhere in the image, but where the white dots are is where somebody stood. So the view is kind of optimized, but you can see you can move through the space. You can look up, down. You can look around. It's so you can imagine for something like this, it's a much more real experience. And the photo wouldn't do this justice. It would be very hard to see. You could take a beautiful photo of the space, but it's not the same as being able to move there. We see the same with apartment buildings and museums and I'll show you some of these if you want me to.
Yeah, please. I was sorry. I was browsing a little bit. Maybe you can browse better and show some cool demos. What I'm wondering is, so you say you just launched iPhone version, and the iPhone is famous for having front-facing depth sensing for the face, right? But do they have something on the other side, or do you need that, or you just take pretty much the camera 2D and then you turn it into 3D?
It's a great question. So we take the 2D photos and we turn them into 3D. And the reason we can do that is we use something called Cortex AI, something we created, because we have for a long time captured so many different spaces, and we know the depth of these spaces. We know, we use computer vision in our 3D camera, which is a true 3D camera. We know, the distances between things. We can now use a 2D camera, and then based on our technology, we can stitch all those 2D images together to make it a true 3D experience. And let me show you what that means. So let me share my screen here really quickly so you can get a sense for this. I'm going to say application window. Here you go. And I'm going to just pull this up on screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. And if I'm just going to
I can see
this here. So here's an example of a space that is completely captured on iPhone. So somebody took a tripod, and they put an iPhone on it, and they captured this space. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, so you can move through the space, right? And you can see, you can get a full sense for what that space is all like. So you can look around and you can see what it's like. And it gives you a much better sense. If you were just doing photos, it would be very hard to get a flow for how is one room related to another. How close is the kitchen to the dining room, and so on. You can even zoom out. You can say, let me see here. Let me look at this view here. We call this the dollhouse view. So you can see, you can drop into any room if you want to right away, right? So you can go in here. You can even go outside if you want to and see a view from outside of the whole space itself. Again, giving you a much, much deeper view of this. But you can do the same here. Here's another example of not how it's just about a tour of something, but you can actually integrate something that's really interesting into this. So this is an example of an e-commerce experience. So here's somebody's office that, now in these COVID-19 times, everyone's working from home. So this person said, okay, well, I'm going to integrate tags that show you where you can buy this from. So here's where you can buy the sofa from. Here's where you can buy the throw. If you want to be able to buy, let's say, the screen here, it's an Apple Cinema display, and so on. And so you can integrate what we call matter tags into an experience, and it allows you to be able to integrate e-commerce into this in a really real way. But you can also, for example, we have something called measurement mode, because again, we have the most data in the world of any 3D company out there. You can say, well, I want to see how wide this couch is. Oh, it's 4 feet and 7 inches. Okay. Well, if you go buy a new one, then actually it's really important to have before you go to a store and so on. So the measurement mode is being used literally millions of times a day because people are trying to buy houses. Let me see where everything goes and so on.
So before I get into the Airbnb, I can check if I can fit in a sofa.
Yeah, exactly. And you contrast that with here's another example of somebody who also integrated e-commerce. This is a company called Human Scale, which I'm a huge fan of. I know the CMO over there. She's awesome. And she said, during the COVID times, they shut down their showrooms, but let's put it online. And they use Matterport to do it. But this is shot not with an iPhone. This is shot with our Pro 2 camera. And you can see, again, you can go walk through their space, and they sell furniture, especially office furniture. And you can walk through their space, but they've done it in such a clever way where you can, of course, get information about the different chairs and the different tables and so on. And you can kind of learn about them, which is really interesting. But you can also then, what they've done is they've made it much more personal by giving you some of the history of how they created all of these different items, which I just love. And it's a great way to kind of get to know a brand, get to know a company, get to know, if this is something for you. And you can do this with anything. We've seen galleries, we've seen museums. So here, one of the things we launched as COVID-19 hit is we said, well, if people are trapped in their homes and people can't go anywhere, how can we bring the world to people? So we launched this thing called Destination Everywhere. It's called destinationeverywhere.world. And in this place, you can go and you can view all kinds of cool models. So models that people have captured. These are, some of them are museums. So if you want to go to see some awesome museums, like this one is one of my favorite, the Pharaoh tomb in Egypt is a great one, for example. Really gives you a sense for what it's like to be in that tomb. It's a stunning model, super long, like the longest hallway. And if you zoom out, you can kind of get a dollhouse. You can say, okay, let me go into.
This is not a video game. This is scanning reality. That's what you do.
This is scanning reality, exactly. So I'm going to drop in right here, and I'm going to see what this model is all about. And you can keep going through it. It's just, I think that the fidelity, you can kind of really get a sense for, wow, what was it like in this tomb? Look at these drawings here, right? It's just wild.
I want to be in there with VR glasses.
I know, right? But look at some of these cool ones here. You got auction houses, you got a synagogue, you got stunning penthouse. You got atomic bomb shelter for John F. Kennedy here. You got you got some human rights and civil rights things that are based on what's happening right now in the world. We want to capture some of these monuments. So here's this fight for civil rights in the South, and each of these, again, you can go and learn about the images there, because of course it's, even though you can see it here, on a screen, it's a little hard to get the details. So you can integrate all these different tags and details in here to get much more information. But that's what the power of Matterport allows you to do, is it allows you to really capture and share a space, kid friendly here. Here, let me show you this one, Harry Potter wedding, which I think is really cool. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. and here's somebody who got married using a Harry Potter themed wedding, and it's really fun to just kind of see what they did with this space. Everything is Harry Potter themed, and you can go over and you can look at things and you can really get a sense for what it's like there. But I think you get the idea. You get the idea.
You have a way to export this to Street View? Do people do that also? Submit it to the Street View?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We integrate with Google Street View, exactly. So you can integrate. So you can go down Google and you can then be able to go inside a building, because of course Google doesn't go inside a building. Or you can do vice versa. You could say, you integrate this and you have your model, then you can go outside the building as well if you want to. And then we integrate with Google Street View that way. So absolutely.
There's a question that from McDaffie is asking, where are you doing the processing required for depth estimation, etc.? Do you have like a supercomputer in the cloud doing this?
We do. We send everything up to the cloud, and then we use our patented AI called Cortex, which we've spent lots of time working on. Our brilliant founders, that's really one of their brainchilds. And then, so when you take the photos, what happens is you take the photos. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. When you take the photos, then once you've done all the photos that you want to take, you can take as many as you want. The more you take, of course, the more detailed it's going to be. Once you take them, you send it up to the cloud. And then a little bit later, it comes back. The reason it doesn't come back instantly is because there's a lot of processing to your question that has to happen in order to figure out how things are related in a space. What is the relation of one room to another? What's the relation of the ceiling to the floor? What's the relation of one wall to another wall? We put all of that together to give you those views that I just showed you. And it takes a lot of processing power, but it all happens in the cloud. The Matterport.
And then there is the app for iPhone, so everybody can just go and download it. Is it coming for Android? I hope, right?
Yeah, so great question. So it's free on the iPhone. You can even scan a space and you can share a space for free, completely free. You don't have to pay anything. It's free for life, which is great. If you want to have more than one space, you'll have to pay for it, which is I think fair, and everybody would expect to do that, because if you want to capture multiple space, multiple rental apartments, galleries, houses, then you can upgrade to a plan. It's 5 spaces for $10 a month, but it's free on iPhone. It's free to scan. It's free to do that. And Android is coming later this year. We are working on it, but for today, it's only on iOS devices, so iPads and iPhones.
So the requirement from the phone device is pretty much just to have a camera, and then you do everything. It's just a 2D camera, hopefully good quality, and then you just do all the process. You don't need to have what Google was doing once with Lenovo, the Project Tango, that was doing this kind of like a 2-camera 3D kind of thing. That's not part of the deal here, or could it be?
No. So I'll give you two tips for how to optimize this. One is, of course, the better the phone you have, the better the quality is. If you can use an iPhone 6 Plus and above, 6S and above, but the camera is not as good as an iPhone 11. So if you have an iPhone 11, the picture quality is going to be better. The detail is going to be better. So I highly recommend using at least a newer phone if you can, at iPhone 10, 11, and so on. iPads are totally great too. That's tip number one. The second tip is using a tripod gets you better results as well. Because again, the key is you're standing like this and you're taking multiple photos, and the natural inclination, the natural tendency is for me to move around, right? I'm going to move and move and move, but actually you don't want the camera to move. You want to move. So you want to hold the phone still and move around in axis. Right? So you can do it. I mean, the one I've done that I just showed you, the shoppable home office, was all done without a tripod. So you can do it, but it's better if you have a tripod, because you can hold that still, or at least something to hold it still. The trick that we use, that we call it the broomstick method. We hold a broomstick and then you just kind of circle it around the broomstick, because a broomstick, you can just make sure that it's stationary in one place.
And then you have some other 3D camera partners.
Exactly. Yeah, so a part of our strategy and part of how we think about it is we want to either let you use the device that you have in your pocket. Of course, that's your smartphone. You can also buy a device yourself. You can buy one on Amazon, like a 360 camera. These are very popular, like the size of a candy bar. They cost a couple of $100, so you can do that. You can also buy either our Pro 2 camera, which is very high end and incredible level of depth and fidelity, or you can also buy what's called the Leica camera, the Leica BLK, which is incredible at depth detection and uses a lot of lasers to do that. And it's an incredible camera, but that's expensive. I think it retails for about $18,000 or something. It's pretty expensive, the Leica camera.
So like nearly 20 years ago, I forgot the name of it, but there was this app that was really cool, but I had to manually point at like a triangles or something in two images, and then it would create something very basic. But the dream really is that everybody kind of wears smart glasses, and then
Yeah.
they can upload into those virtual spaces, or into actually reality, virtually, not virtual reality, like this TV show called Upload. I don't know if you know that TV show. It's it's really fun TV show. Then you would be able to just scan the world and go anywhere you want with those VR. And is your company going to be part of that kind of long term media? I don't want it to be long term. It should be in 1 or 2 or 3 years. Are you thinking that direction, or are you just doing something different right now?
For sure we are. I mean, our whole goal is how do you make it more and more immersive? And we actually support VR today. You can use VR glasses to view the tour. I don't have a pair, unfortunately, so it would be a little hard to show you anyway, but we do. And the part of the future is, for us, is, we think 3D is so much more advanced than 2D. But how do you take it even further? How do you integrate more sensory experiences, sound, or more feel to the experience itself, which I think is a key part of it. So we have a lot of companies out there who want to work with us on really, really interesting things that integrate into Matterport. Anything from virtual reality, so Unity engine, right? We have some examples of some companies who've integrated people from a Unity virtual reality engine into Matterport, which is cool. People come to us and said, hey, we want to integrate music or sounds into the effect. Because again, you're walking through a space, it's beautiful, but there's no sound. If you're walking through a real space, there's sound, right? And so there's all kinds of ideas for how do you take it to the next level of experience, and that's what we're excited about.
So the Unity engine is kind of like this Unreal Engine. This basically you are kind of in the video game, right? Where you move around like with a joystick, and you are and you like constantly you can move anywhere you want.
Yeah, I mean, the way they've integrated, but that's a great idea of where it could go, right? The way they've integrated, they said, okay, well, you have these models. I just showed you some of them. They're beautiful, but there's no people in there, right? And a big part of a space, of getting a feel for a space, is how do people interact and engage in space? So that you can put in virtual reality people or figures, kind of animated and CG animated, figures in there, and then you can show what it's like to be in a space when people are talking or interacting or walking around. It gives you a different feel for space, right? So that's what I've seen.
I can imagine there's a kind of competition in this field, but you're the world leader in doing this stuff, and you have the most kilometers, and you have the most potential for dominating the future of this field.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, we've been doing it probably longer than anyone, and we have just incredible growth, especially during the last couple of months after COVID hit, because everyone is locked down. There's a lot of companies out there that do what I would call the 360 tours. And a 360 tour or image is just very different. It's like using the panoramic feature on your phone. Like, my iPhone here has panorama mode, so I can do it. And then you stitch those panoramic, but you're not moving through a space. You're just getting a big panoramic image of something, which, it's a better thing, I think, than 2D, but it's not 3D. 3D means you're moving through the space. Like I showed you that tomb. A panoramic image would not be able to capture that tomb. It just can't. You have to be able to take a narrow hallway and be able to walk through it in a way that you can't do otherwise. And 3D
so it is 3D information of the whole. So are you able to, I don't want to ask in future plans and all that stuff, but let's say I see this as potential deal with like Airbnb, and then where your monetization would just be automatically generated if your technology creates more sales. Like if people go through the 3D virtual experience before booking, then you would be compensated, and that would be totally fair. And then every Airbnb should just be 3D scanned. If people can just do it with their phones. How far are you?
I mean, so VRBO, Marriott, they're already customers of ours. They partner with us. Redfin, Scylla, Scylla was somebody that we're working with, but you got Redfin, you got Realtor.com, you got CBRE, WeWork. They're all like partners. And so here's a stat. I mentioned it briefly, but maybe it went by too quickly. If you're selling a home, and you have a 3D tour, your home will sell 20% faster and at 9% higher cost. So if that's the case, why wouldn't you do that for your rentals, for your homes? Because people want to have that experience. I just had a friend, I'll tell you, who I know from New York. We work together at WeWork. And he sent me a text saying, hey, I just bought a house in a different state in Montana. I'd never seen the house. I hadn't stepped foot in there, but I used the Matterport tour because this real estate website had a Matterport tour of the house. And I just viewed it many times. And it gave me the confidence to buy that house. Can you imagine? I mean, 20 years ago, I was nervous about buying a pair of shoes online. What if the shoes don't fit and you have to send them back? It was kind of a hassle. Now people are buying homes without ever seeing it. It's kind of wild, but this is the future we're going into. But the technology has to be there in order for you to get the confidence that you're buying the right place for you, because it's a big investment, obviously.
Usually the architects are the ones who kind of want to do 3D models that are not based on reality, right? They want to show stuff that's a future plan, but maybe they want to show the finished building to the potential future customers. Or
let me show you. Can I show you?
Yeah, please.
Something from my screen. Okay, let me share my screen again. I'll show you an example of exactly that. Application window, this one here. So hopefully you can see my screen here. And so this is an apartment. It's a real apartment. It's a beautiful, gorgeous apartment. You can see a kind of top floor. You got great views. But the thing about this one you're seeing, every part of the furniture is fake. It's all virtual reality staging. It's staged furniture that's created in a computer. It's all CG. Even the reflection in the mirror is based on calculations that they've done based on the view that you're looking at it. But you can walk through every part of this is not real. The plants are not real. The wall art. So you can imagine if you're selling $1 million apartment, you want to be able to show, well, here's what it looks like with this kind of furniture. And here's what it looks like with this kind of furniture. Here's what it looks like if you want to change out the wall art to be something a little bit different. Here's modern wall art. If you want something more classical or family photos, we can put that in there for you as well. But everything you see here, so it's a real space, but it's fake furniture. It's fake staging. It's called virtual staging. It's pretty impressive what you can do.
So you were mentioning that a tripod is preferable.
Yes.
Is there any chance that some kind of AI might, or future better cameras or something might allow for the more natural thing of just doing like this and boom, scanning the whole thing? I mean, not maybe that fast moving, but you know what
exactly.
I mean?
It's of course. I'll show you here again. This one here. So this one here, I showed you this one here, right? This was not shot with a tripod. Right? It's just handheld. Somebody just did, and it's totally fine. It's a beautiful space, right? Is it as perfect as some of the ones I just showed you? Maybe not, but for certainly sharing with friends and family and being able to see it, it's totally fine. And this is all without a tripod. And so you can see here, you can look up and down, you can move it around and so on. You can see outside, inside. But yeah, so you can certainly do it. And of course, as the technology gets better, we'll be able to detect more of how that works and integrates together.
And this, when you mentioned Unity engine, how do people get access to this kind of mode? Is there like do you have a game player kind of thing?
We don't have a game player right now, unfortunately.
Browser based, where people can just load it and start playing.
No, I wish we did. So what we do here, I'll show you here. We have I think it's this one here. We have a developer site where we have a lot of examples, and you can go and integrate. Here's an example of a space. You see the security camera, right? And it's capturing a space. It's actually not. It's not a real camera, right? And it's not a real field of view, but we've calculated that based on the angle of the space itself. And so in this here, you can integrate with us, and you can try to do all kinds of things. Here, I'll show you. If you pull out to what we call the dollhouse view, you can go in here. You can see here's a space that's completely empty. Well, I'm going to click on this. I can put in an armchair. I can put in here. I can put in this sofa. I can put in this coffee table. Again, so you can use our developer tools, our SDK, to do anything. You can integrate with Zoom. Somebody has done that. I wish I had the example with Unity, with virtual staging, with virtual reality. There's so many different things you can do with this here. Once you have a space, it's really cool.
So when people talk about supercomputers and machine learning and AI, this kind of stuff has a potential of really taking advantage of all these technologies, where it would be cool if you had like a room with 4 cameras in every corner, right? And so the whole thing is in real time scanned in 3D, and then you can, with your VR, you can join a party remotely in 3D. But is that
Totally, that
okay? That's maybe too far-fetched, but why
that
not?
that's
They
that
should be.
that's
They
not
should be
there
here.
today. That's not there today. But that's what we want to do. Be able to really make it immersive. You know, be able to have it live. Because what I'm showing you today is not live, right? But it could be in the future. There's no reason it couldn't be live, right? You walk through space together. Let's you and I walk through this space together and chat and so on. Absolutely, right? And there's a good question about useful commercial real estate. Absolutely. That's why CBRE, JLL, Cushman Wakefield, WeWork, they're all customers of ours. You know, I learned about Matterport because I worked at WeWork before coming to Matterport, and we were big fans of the Matterport technology to open up our space. Because like, you can imagine, before you settle in an office space, it's a very emotional decision. Where do I want my team to work and be? And a lot of times you go around, you see 10, 20, 50 different buildings. Well, if you can do a tour of this, it gives you a much different feel for what that space is all about.
And a huge fan of Bjarke Ingels, who was the architect of the WeWork thing. But maybe there's these, Danish is best thing on Denmark, right? And with these kinds of guys could also use this technology to like show off when they make a new building. There's 500 new apartments.
Totally. Yes,
boom.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
All right. Exactly. So and so more and more stuff to come out, even though there's no conferences, but you're gonna be launching new things.
We're working on it. Stay tuned on that. But we'll probably do some event later in the year. We're very excited by the prospect of getting many people together and hearing about it, especially around the Android release. You know, we're very excited. We know that a lot of people are asking about when is it coming out for Android. We're working hard on it because Android covers, you know, more people than iPhone does, right? So we're working on it.
No. So maybe you 3D scan your headquarters, and then you have people join the press conference virtually.
Exactly. Why not?
Right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. All right. Exactly. So thanks a lot, and looking forward to this future where everybody will be able to upload into this new world and getting it scanned in the smartest way possible.
Go try it out. It's free. Yeah, go download the Matterport Capture app on the App Store, and you can try it yourself and use it for free.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody.